Hey everyone, welcome back to the Blue Lotus Awakenings channel. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here today. This channel is about spirituality and the difference between spirituality and religion. And basically, when we talk about the difference between spirituality and religion, where I'm going at or heading to is that there is a difference between you being a spiritual person and a spiritual entity having a relationship with the divine, as apart from a religion where the religion facilitates your relationship and connection with the divine. That's why spirituality and religion are two different things, two different concepts, and two very uh, different and specific areas of religiosity or having a concept or belief in spirituality. When I talk about this, I talk about it coming from a Jehovah's Witness concept, being that I was born and raised in the Jehovah's Witness religion from the time I was 6 weeks old up until I was in my early 50s when I left. I know I still look like I'm super young, but I am a mature, I am a mature adult in my 50s. And so this video is about why it's dangerous for women to be Jehovah's Witnesses. That is the name of this video. Why is it dangerous for women to be Jehovah's Witnesses? And I'll be coming at this video from my experience as being a Jehovah's Witness for 50 plus years. So when you hear the things that I talk about in this video, you may say, what? But this is my experience, what I've seen, what I've heard, and what I have experienced in this organization for, as I said, over 50 years. The reason why I say that it is dangerous for a woman to be a Jehovah's Witness is because in this organization, there is a patriarchy in force. That means everything comes from the male perspective and the white or Euro-American male perspective. What does that mean? That means that the entire structure and functionality of the Jehovah's Witnesses organization is male-based, Euro-American male-based. That is a really strong point to deal with, because in this country of the United States, this country was built upon and built by white or Euro-American men and their perspective on life. And if you look back into your history books about the founding fathers of the United States of America and the things that they stood for and where women were in that perspective, you will find that women were placed in a third class citizen role. So women were a little bit above black people, but not by much. In this country, I should say, white Euro-American women. And that's why when black people began to fight for their rights, women, Euro-American women, would also benefit from the establishment of certain laws that were fought by Black Americans or African Americans or the descendants of African slaves. This legislation and these civil rights that were fought by Black Americans or African Americans, even though that is the case, white or Euro-American women mostly benefited from those rules and that legislation or those laws, because in this country, white women were seen in the same manner or maybe just a little bit higher than black people were seen. White women or Euro-American women were viewed as property. They could not get credit cards in their name. They could not buy a home in their name or acquire a mortgage in their name. They could not get checking accounts in their name. All of those things had to be done by their husband or their father. So women basically, grown women basically had zero rights. Even when you look over at the structure of patriarchy in Europe or over in Great Britain, the same things applied. If a husband passed on, if he died, his wealth would not be or could not be passed on to his wife or to his daughters. The wealth will only be passed on to the son. If there is no son, it will go to the nearest male relative, not the wife and not his daughters. So basically, in Western society, white European men built the structure of democracy or a theocracy that was built and propagated by white men, white males, or Euro-American males or European males. So when you come to the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses, you find that this is the case. Even though history tells us, you got to do your homework though. History tells us that the wife of Charles Taze Russell helped him found and organize the religion that will become Jehovah's Witnesses today. She worked side by side with him, but was soon kicked out or phased out of the organization, out of organizational leadership because of misogyny. And soon, Jehovah's Witnesses began to operate on pure misogyny. Just as the rest of the world operated, they operated on the same wavelength, on the same level. Even when the civil rights era began and the women's liberation movement started, and things began to progress for Euro-American women, the Watchtower Bible Tract and Society still remain stubbornly misogynistic, all male. So there are certain things that could happen in an organization that's set up for and by Euro-American males. And it puts women in jeopardy. You may say, how so? Well, let's start off with the factor of child, you know what? Or the exploitation of children. The way the Watchtower Bible Tract and Tract Society organization is set up, it is set up to disregard the complaints, disregard the accusations that children or parents of children may bring to the congregation elders regarding their children being being exploited by members or Euro-American male members of the organization. There is something called the two-witness rule. Even though Jehovah's Witnesses claim in different court cases that this is not applied in cases of child or allegations of child exploitation, yet the rule is that in order for a case to be brought against a member of the Jehovah's Witness organization, there has to be two witnesses who were present at the time to make or substantiate the claims of the person that's bringing forth the allegations. Now, when you have situations of child blah or child exploitation or child blah abuse, they're usually 10 times out of 10, there is no one else in the situation or involved in the situation but the adult and the child. So when you have a situation set up for a child to right off the bat be unbelieved, can you imagine how that makes a parent feel or a mother feel if her child is not even believed by the very organization that basically dictates and runs her life? Think about that. Another way that the organization is dangerous for women is that, for one thing, Jehovah's Witnesses do not accept women as viable, intelligent human beings that can bring more, spirituality and bring out more, help to elaborate more on Bible teachings in an instructive fashion. The patriarchy of Jehovah's Witnesses do not believe that women are capable of leading or of leadership roles. So what they do is they place women in a second to third class status within the organization, which means the only people that gets to be that have a teachable position within the congregations are men. That's it. Women are placed in a position where the only teaching they can do is subjected to play acting on stage, some type of field ministry activity or studying or Bible study. They can come up on the stage to do a demonstration of being out in the field ministry or preaching work. They can be asked to give an experience or a testimony of something that's happened in their life that is connected to the field ministry work, preaching work, or being able to bring someone into or convert someone to become one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's it. Now, during the question and answer portion of any meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses, women are allowed to raise their hands and make a comment, but the comment comes strictly from the paragraph. The comment is already the answer to the question is already given and stated in the paragraph, and women can raise their hands to read a comment that comes out, read a comment or answer to the question provided from that paragraph, and they can read a scripture from their seat that comes out of that paragraph. If a man on the stage or brother asks or invites the audience to read a scripture, women can raise their hands and be called upon to read a scripture from the Bible, but they cannot sit there and explain the scripture or teach what the scripture really means to the congregation. That's a no-no. But women are allowed to teach their Bible students in their own homes. Now, why is this practice dangerous to women? The reason is because when you are teaching a congregation or a group of people, you want to be as relatable to that group of people as possible. When you have a situation where men are called upon to lead a congregation of people, the congregation is not made up of just men. The congregation is made up of men, women, and children. So that means that you have men who are attempting to instruct women who have no type of feedback or insight into how women biologically or mentally, emotionally are made up. Every scriptural detail that you find in the Bible does not necessarily apply to everyone in the congregation, nor does it apply to every woman in the congregation, nor should it be. But if you are part of the patriarchy of Jehovah's Witnesses, and you're part of that male structure, then you get to teach women, you get to tell women what to do, you get to counsel women, and you get to be the head over them, or you get to be in a leadership position over them. Especially if they have no husband, then you, in essence, are their head. That is a problem, because then women are forced into a position where they cannot make decisions for themselves. They are put into a position where they are not able or believed to be incapable of intelligent thought and concepts. When women are told that their intelligence is not respected, that their knowledge is not respected or wanted, that their intellect is not needed in any way in the congregation, but in the home as housewives, mothers, and then in the congregation as people who are out on this conversion preaching work process. Those are the only ways that women are looked upon and held upon as viable, and those are third class citizenship roles. And this is dangerous because then the sons that are coming up in this organization begin to view their mother's opinion and their mother's intellect or intelligence or intellectual capability as being second rate to their own. Sons grow up in a sense or in an atmosphere that foster and nurtures malehood and centers malehood, where it begins to relegate or put down women. At a young age, a young Jehovah's Witness male can do certain things in the congregation, such as carry the mic, having a mic and being able to give it to different people in the congregation when there's a question and answer portion of the meeting. Young men can go up on the stage and they can give Bible readings, just reading a basic scripture from the Bible, maybe 10 or 20 at a time. They can do that. Young men can go up on the stage and read paragraphs from the Watchtower or any type of study material or publication that Jehovah's Witnesses may be presenting at that meeting. Young men can do that. If they get baptized at 8 years old, they can do that. They are seen as vital and necessary to the organizational structure of the congregation and the organization itself. Girls are not allowed or valued at all. What can girls do in the organization? Maybe raise their hand and give a comment, play acting on a stage or some type of conversion or preaching work, and they can learn to clean up. They are needed to clean up the Kingdom Hall on the days when the Kingdom Hall needs to be cleaned up. And then go to school, get an education so that they can be a well-rounded prospect of a Jehovah's Witness male, young man, to look at and possibly consider to marry. And then she will become a wife, maybe a pioneer first, then a wife, and then she can only hope that her husband's spirituality is strong enough, and so is hers, so that perhaps one day he can be a ministerial servant, an elder, and become a circuit overseer one day. Now let's not forget that the congregation and the Jehovah's Witness organization may not officially be run by women, but there are a lot of women in congregations all across the world who are the backbone of their husbands and their sons. These women are the ones who are actually helping their husbands prepare for their talks. Some of these wives are the ones that are writing the talks for their husbands. So when you see a Jehovah's Witness man on the stage give a talk, 9 times out of 10, and sometimes 10 times out of 10, the wife is the one that wrote that talk. The wife is the one who put that whole talk together, whether it's a 45-minute talk, a half-hour talk, whether it's a talk that lasts for 6 minutes. Women are doing that. Their wives, the sisters, are doing that. If you ever listen to the comments of some of the women, the sisters in the congregation, you can tell right off the bat they are more knowledgeable, more intelligent when it comes to the religiosity of Jehovah's Witnesses. I have met more women who are scholared in Jehovah's Witness theology than men, Jehovah's Witness men, who deserve to have a place on the platform teaching and encouraging the congregation, but will never get that opportunity. Never. They have to live in the shadows of their husbands. This is dangerous. Very dangerous. Another way in which women being in the Jehovah's Witness organization is dangerous is because of the proliferation of domestic violence. Women are placed in a situation and in a position where they have no voice when it comes to domestic violence. In fact, the Watchtower publications themselves have implicated women in their own domestic violence, have implicated and blamed women for being raped, have blamed women for being in positions where they are being abused by their husbands. Watchtower publications are the very tools that elders, Euro-American men and African-American men who hold positions of authority in these congregations, they have used these publications to subjugate women, have told women that divorcing or leaving their abusive spouse is unchristian, unscriptural, unbiblical. Jehovah's Witnesses, the male structure of the organization, have put video upon video upon video out onto jw.org that discourages in many ways women from leaving their husbands by using a verse in the Bible that says that if women stay with their husbands, that they will win them over without a word. That scripture has been used and forced upon women to stay with their abusive husbands. Some women who are Jehovah's Witnesses have been abused to the point of death by their husbands. Some of their husbands were already baptized members of the Jehovah's Witness organization, and others had husbands who were not, who were so-called unbelievers. Some of these women have lost their children in courts across the country because their husbands have said that they are in a dangerous cult and should leave. But they refuse. And therefore allow themselves to be martyred for the organization. All of these things are happening, and that's what make being a Jehovah's Witness woman is dangerous. Because the indoctrination of Jehovah's Witness theology and religiosity does not promote womanhood. The Apostle Paul in the Bible that Jehovah's Witnesses really turn to for some of their most restrictive and prohibitive religiosity indoctrination points. He obviously was a person who disliked women on many levels. One of the things he wrote in the Bible is that women should be so-called modest, shouldn't wear jewelry, should keep their heads covered, shouldn't braid their heads and make themselves look beautiful. That was something that he said about women that other religions, as well as Jehovah's Witnesses, have used to their advantage to restrict and oppress women. The Apostle Paul was also the one that said he believed women should be silent and remain silent in a subservient position in the congregation, which means that women should have no opinion when it comes to religious matters, at least not publicly. The scripture also said, Apostle Paul also said, that if she has questions, she has to go to her husband. She can't pose a question inside the congregation. Well, what if the woman doesn't have a husband? Then what happens? These are just ways that patriarchy is centered in the Jehovah's Witness organization. And that's why it is dangerous and problematic for women who are giving birth to little girls and subjecting them to this type of restrictive, oppressive theology for women. This is why it is dangerous for young women who are in the organization who get married to men who already were raised to believe that they are the structural head of the household, and that they can be as oppressive, as abusive as they choose to be without having to answer for that. Jehovah Witness women are told to stay with their husbands regardless of what happens, regardless of what that husband does to them. And then they are told that if you separate from your husband, then you can never marry anymore. You cannot divorce him. You cannot marry someone else, because then that will make you an adulteress. So if a Jehovah Witness woman leaves her husband who has been severely abusive, she has to live alone and be unhappy in that loneliness of not having a companion that loves her for the rest of her life. This is why Jehovah's Witnesses, the organization, is dangerous for women. Because it doesn't look at women as intelligent, viable, loving human beings. The organization looks down on women. And then periodically, maybe once or twice a year, come out with articles that say, we love our women. We love our sisters. No, you love what your sisters can do for you. But Jehovah's Witnesses do not love what women can do for them. Do not love the intelligence. Do not love the compassion and the empathy and the soul of a woman. This organization does not love that, does not respect it, and does not want to participate in that. This organization wants to participate in the extraction of all good things that women bring, instead of celebrating it and elevating it. Now that's my take, and that's why I believe that Jehovah's Witnesses is not the organization for women, and why it's dangerous. But what are your thoughts? What do you think about this? Let's drop down in the comment section and continue this conversation. And for the month of June, well, for the rest of this month and the month of June, I'm doing a 500 subscriber challenge. So help me meet that challenge by subscribing to the Blue Lotus Awakenings channel today. And don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.